This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are always here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy. And the gentleman I'm bringing on today, he is somebody I really got to know well. He's my neighbor, but he's someone that inspires me in so many ways. And we're going to dive into it. Whether he knows that or he doesn't, he is just one of those remarkable people that always seems to have that knowledge. He always has that really interesting perspective that I value so much. And his networking ability is remarkable. David Shteif is a leading figure in digital marketing, having founded and co-founded several internet-based companies, including Digital Media Solutions, which is now a publicly traded company on New York Stock Exchange. He has a passion for all things digital and tech and emphasizes the importance of relationships in business. Brother, what is happening? How are you?
I am good, my friend. Thank you for that awesome intro.
Well, you earned it. It's just my experience of being around you. And one of the things I will start with, obviously, I think you are very attractive in terms of your business acumen, how many contacts you have, how willing you are to share this information. And it's remarkable, and we'll talk about it. But I will say your relationship with your girls as a family man and with your wife, I don't always get to say this to people, or I'm like, yeah, man, I look up to how involved you are, how close you are with your wife, with your two girls. And we had dinner the other night and we were talking about this experience, which was, scared the living daylights out of me.
Right.
I took that home and I've sat on it since and just said, it's remarkable what an amazing family man you are while crushing it in business, while taking care of your health. So I guess I'll open that way, brother, because I do look up to you in so many ways in that regard. But has that just you've always been close with family? What does family mean to you? Maybe that's the question I should ask.
The family's like the center thing, right? You have to have a balance in life, right? Sometimes people are crushing it in business. Sometimes people are crushing it with family. And at the end of the day, if one is off balance, then you're off balance, right? So something that I found, which is really important, is making sure you've got that balance. I mean, if you're killing it at work, well, make sure that you're putting that same amount of time and effort at home, right? Don't ignore the people that are always going to be there for you, because the people in the outside world are there as long as you could serve them. The minute you can't serve them, well, guess what? They're gone. They're going somewhere else. Family's always going to be there.
I found that out, but I lost that at some point, David. And
right.
I've talked about it openly with my audience, where I lost it so much that my wife and I were literally separated for a year. I was going to lose my kids 50% of the time.
Yeah.
That was a non-negotiable for me. That was like, no, dude, that's not why I started doing business. But I see it all the time. I see executives frequently pour so much into their business that their health goes to waste, that their relationships are garbage. So how do you keep so centered on that, brother? How do you keep so, because you clearly have this great ability to balance so much of what life throws at you.
Yeah. Well, I find that a lot of it has to do with where I am today, right? Because if we were having the same conversation when I was in my 20s, would I be there? No. In my 30s? No. Right. So what happens is we look at our past experience, and the best teacher is the past, right? The past is something that I own. It's mine, right? But it's all what I do with that past. So some people are better at looking at their past and utilizing that with everything that you see today, because what you see today is nothing more than everything that happened in the past, right? But it's, what did I do with that raw material to create what I have today? Does that make sense?
It does. But it's, often we don't want to look at the past, Dave. There's some nasty stuff that wasn't ideal back then, but I agree with what you're saying, that there's so much to be learned. By history repeats itself unless we learn from some of these mistakes that perhaps we made along the way.
It's not always mistakes. A lot of times it's, I think you and I spoke about this. It's, you ever notice that there's people when they're growing up, right? And there are people in their lives that would make statements like, what's wrong with you?
Mm.
But the truth is, it's what's right with you, right? But when you look backwards, instead of saying what was wrong with me, it was what was right with me. What can I learn from that? Because again, you're who you are today as a result of your past. Like, you experienced pain, right? When you were separated from your wife for a short period of time, right? You experienced pain, for sure.
Yeah.
But it was that pain that allowed you to say, no, here's what was wrong, right? But here's what's right, and here's what I need to do. And as a result, I look at you and I say, damn, you're a great dad. I mean, I see how you are with your boys, but that came from non-negotiable. There's no way that these boys are not going to be in my life. There's no way that my amazing wife is going to go out there and be with another man. Screw that. Not happening. You have to experience the pain, right? So the truth is, the past is good. Even if it was painful, it's good, because it allows us to take that and bring us to where we are today. So me, as a pretty centered person, that, I have to thank my past and the people around me.
Yeah, it is one of those funny things about life when something awful happens. And again, I've talked about openly on the show, losing my dad would be the greatest example I have recently. It's
Right.
horrible. I want him every single day of my life. Yet I have this level of perspective that I could not have without losing the man. It's just,
Right.
it's a fact. And
Right.
so there are gifts in all these tragedies, or all of these, I don't know what they are, the bad things that happen in life. There's always a gift to be seen in that.
For sure.
And so I guess, yeah, it's just recognizing that.
Totally.
I want to get into your networking, and I don't know your system. I don't know if it's just Dave is such a good guy. People are like, I want to be around this guy. I do know you're extremely intentional about, you're a giver, man. You are constantly giving. Hey, I know someone, I have somebody to connect you with. That has been my experience with you. But when I say I don't think I've scratched the surface of how wide your network is. It's truly remarkable, brother. So I think anybody listening that has any business acumen at all,
Right.
they can learn so much from how much you've created this, because there's not a thing in your life that you probably can't a couple touches away where you have access to it.
I would say that is definitely a gift. Yeah. It's a gift that, continues to give to me, but it's a gift that I can give to others, and I love giving. So it's pretty cool, when you're in that position where you've got a friend that has a challenge, and you're like, hang on a second. Listen, my buddy needs you. Can you help him out? Sure. It's awesome. It helps me. Oh, here's what it does for me. Like, JM, like you recently had a challenge with a technical issue that you're having, right? With the live podcast. I'm like, dude, I got someone for you, right? In 2 seconds, we were able to make a connection, and I certainly hope that multiplies your world as a result, right? So where does that all come from? For me, I like to connect with people, right? And truly, when I sit down and I speak to people, I don't like doing the group thing. I like doing a one-on-one thing, right? I think the way you and I connected is because it was a one-on-one. You and I probably had some really good conversations in the past, but not necessarily group. I kind of shut down in a group. I kind of step away. I become someone that absorbs in a group, but I hone into the people that I think are the most interesting. And then I get them on a one-on-one, and I learn as much as I can about them. And people want to talk about themselves, right? When they talk about themselves, they feel good, but at the same time, I feel good because I'm learning about them. Everyone is a producer, right? Everyone is their own Steven Spielberg. Everyone has a movie. It's a movie that they starred in, right? And my job, it's not my job, but something that I enjoy. I want you to tell me about your movie. I know about my movie. I could sit there, you and I could meet. We don't know each other, right? I know my movie. I starred in it, right? Not interesting anymore. I'm interested in your movie. So that's kind of like my approach, where when I meet people, I want to know about your movie.
Yeah. See, and this is what I wanted. This is why I wanted to get into it, because when I talk about networking, when I talk about meeting people, often people are like, oh, it's that super charismatic, dynamic life of the party. And I'm not saying you're not, right? You're a fun guy to be around, but that's not the approach. As you said, you're very intentional to pull aside and say, hey, man, tell me more. What's
Absolutely.
really going on? And you're not asking surface level questions. So we're clear. You're diving pretty deep in a invasive way, and
Right.
in a way that makes you feel really seen and heard and appreciated. And I just think it's a remarkable skill that if I were to say one thing I want to get better at being around David, it's that, because I'm okay at it. I'm more the life of the party guy, have fun. Okay, cool. But man, you're so good at it. And you're right. I'm meeting with that guy today because
Love it.
the live podcast, you're my neighbor. You should be here. But because I needed the technical support, and by the way, David's like, yeah, no problem. I'll get him here tomorrow. It's just a couple hours late. So anyway.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your experience as a CEO of a publicly traded company, brother. I mean, that.
So let's pause there. I wasn't CEO. I was co-founder.
Co-founder. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But still, there's not a ton of people that are like, yeah, I co-founded, and have you ever been a braggart about this? In fact, I found this out from somebody else about you. But tell me about that experience, brother. How did that come about? Digital marketing, and where did this come from that you were able to co-found something that exploded to such a degree?
Well, I'm a big believer in collaborations, right? So I know what I know, right? Everyone has like their core abilities, what they do extremely well. And I know what other people's core abilities and what they do really well. And I have the ability to see like these gaps, right? And taking a gap and being able to close it by bringing the right people to the table, right? And that's all what happened with us being able to go public. So I was running another business, which I was the co-founder of, also a very successful business. My co-founders were running other businesses, and I saw what they were doing. And we were at a show in San Francisco at a digital event. And I sat down with them. We're at the St. Regis, sitting down at the bar having cocktails, and we're just, talking like we are. And I said, I really love what you're putting together right now. And why don't we look at combining our businesses? And as a result of combining our businesses, we're addressing what the marketplace is looking for. And then as a result, we as a group collaboratively can get to where we want to go in a much more rapid pace. Most people feel that in order for them to get from point A to point B, it's up to them on their own. You can only do so much on your own. But when you identify the right collaborators and you bring talent together, and then once you bring that talent together, you're going out there and you're continuously finding talent, right? Meaning bolt-ons, whether you're going out there and you're running an acquisition or an acqui-hire, right? And then down the road, as a result of you wanting to either sell or you wanting to grow through going public, well, you just have the right conversations with the right people and you get there. I know I'm simplifying it, and there's not enough time in this podcast for us to talk about the details, but if you can remember one thing, and that's collaboration, and always identifying the who's, because we're always missing a who. The problem is everyone's trying to be the who. And as a result, you're going nowhere.
Yeah, this is one of the things that really did, I think when I had reached out to you, I had read this book. It's called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, I know him a little bit. Well, so modest, guys. He knows him extremely well. And Dan Sullivan has an incredible program. But the basic idea that I felt overwhelmingly reading that book is there's a real abundant mindset versus a scarce mindset. So often when collaborations don't work, it's because I'm going to hold on to mine because I know I can do X with it. I know what it's worth. What are you taking from me? And that's clearly not what Dan believes in. It's clearly not what you believe in.
Right.
Is that God-given, brother? Is that something that you've learned? Again, I know a little bit of your history, but where did that come from? Where you're like, I can grow so much bigger and faster and greater by bringing talented people around versus holding on to for dear life, what my little piece of this pie is.
Dude, success leaves clues, right? We're all going out there and we're looking at these magnificent companies that have been created, and you read stories and everyone basically says the same thing. I mean, it wasn't them, it was because of the people that they surround themselves with, right? So I did that. I just looked at, hey, look, this is what I'm really good at, right? I'm more of like an amazing front stage person, but I'm not great at backstage. And I just need to consistently surround myself with people that make me better and that I can make them better. That's it. It's simple. It's really simple. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. So my daughter's graduating Florida State University. She calls me up about a year ago. Dad, listen, I just volunteered to take on this big fundraiser. I don't know why I did. I raised my hand. I said I do it. It's like one of the biggest fundraisers she's in a business fraternity. I'm like, okay, Sid, so now what? She goes, I don't know. I have to do this and I have to, and I have to, and I have to. I'm like, stop. You don't have to do anything. She goes, what do you mean, Dad? I told him I'm going to do this. I'm like, no, Sid. You're in this business fraternity, right? Right. And you need someone that knows social media, right? Yes. And you need someone that knows how to do video. And you need someone that knows copywriting. And I just kept going down, the road with her with this thing. I'm like, go out and start asking who can and who, right? You're always missing a who. And as a result, she was able to successfully raise a significant amount of money for this business fraternity as a result of not doing it on her own. She went out there and she brought the right people to the table. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, brother. But the way you modeled it for her, and even the way you've sat down and modeled it for me, it does make sense. And it actually is simple.
Yeah.
Yet can feel overwhelming for somebody that's never really attacked it that way, right? And dare I say that there are some business people out there with control issues that are going to hold on to everything to say, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done well. That's clearly the antithesis of what you do. You are like, no, man, I'm very good at this, and this.
Right.
I need help here. And you put these pieces of the puzzle together so seamlessly, brother. And I know we don't have time to go through the entire thing, but I do want to explore it just a little bit more to say,
sure.
All right, I recognize what I'm good at. So for me, it's pretty clear. I'm good at leadership. I know it, man. It's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
After that, it gets a little murky. And so you have this business idea and it's like, now how do I go find them, David? How do I reach out? And I know you're part of different networking groups and maybe that's a part of this, but where do you start that process to say, okay, I'm going to go seek out the social media person. I'm going to go seek out the copyright person, whatever person it is.
Look, it all starts with, what's the problem, right? At the end of the day, what's bothering me? We all start with things that are bothering us, right? And, I learned this from Dan Sullivan, what's bothering me? What if it didn't bother me, right? And now who do I need to ensure that it doesn't bother me? Again, I'm trying to simplify because it's that simple. Everyone overcomplicates. Everyone overthinks. And that's why shit doesn't get done. I like to simplify. The more that you simplify, the more you multiply. I know, again, I know that I'm people are, I don't know who's listening to this, but yeah, bullshit. No, yeah. Okay. Try me, reach out to me. Let me show you how I can take any challenge that you're having and I will simplify it to the point where I'm not giving you answers. You have the answer. I'm just pulling it out of you.
Do you think it's an ego thing where we don't ask enough and I'll speak for myself as a male, the typical, I'm driving down the road. I'm not going to ask for directions. I'm just going to drive around aimlessly trying to figure this out, which is ridiculous when you say it out loud.
No, I hear you.
Is there's a little bit of degree of that, brother?
Do you want to know where I think it starts?
Yeah.
I think it starts in grade school. If you think about, our school system, up until you get to about, I don't know, maybe third grade, right? Things are cool. Kindergarten, it's awesome. First grade, yeah. Second grade, freaking amazing. But third grade, things tend to change, right? You have to study, right? You have to study on your own. You have to take tests on your own, right? And do everything on your own, right? In order to go ahead and get a grade. So now you're doing this, right? Through grade school, you're doing this through junior high school, doing through high school, and then eventually some of college. But then you get a job. And when you get a job, you're not doing things on your own. You're doing things as a team, right? So if it's ingrained in you from when you're a child, right? And then eventually you're put into a business environment, and now you have to work as a team. There's people that know how to break away, right, from that individualistic approach to a team approach. And those who know how to get into that team environment where we're helping each other are the ones that win. So that's it, man. I mean, I think it starts from grade school, and some people just don't know how to break that pattern.
Yeah. And I know this is one thing I want to dive in with you. There's so many pop culture or current events that are fascinating. Our world is rapidly shifting quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, brother, because you kind of get down that education reform idea.
Yeah.
Is it broken? I mean, is the traditional sense of an education? Now, you just said your daughter is graduating, in a couple of weeks. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
And I know your other daughter is progressing through college as well.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional curriculum, brother, do we need to take a serious look at this to say this isn't supporting real world application?
Supporting real world application if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer. But I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, I think the current system sucks. I told my girls, I'm like, if you don't want to graduate, if you don't want to go to school anymore, it's fine with me. But you're going to be an entrepreneur. That's it. But if you want to be a professional, you have to get a degree. So I think that it all depends upon what you want to do. I'm not a believer in the school system. I went through it. I didn't, do great. I mean, as a matter of fact, my grades sucked. But I knew that I wasn't going to be a doctor. I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer. And I knew that I wanted to own my own business because, I learned from my dad. That's what my dad did. My dad owned 3 bakeries and a gas station growing up. So I saw, a very hardworking immigrant that went out there and made things happen. And I said, I want to be like my dad.
It is fascinating. And this isn't to say, look, parents, don't get offended when I'm saying this. When did anybody ever say, hey, can I take a look at your transcripts? What was your GPA? It is fascinating, Dave, how much pressure as parents.
Yeah.
Even myself, I get caught in the trap, brother, because TJ's about to go to college.
Right.
He's got his SATs and it's always getting into blah, blah school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wait a minute. I know what my GPA is. You know who cares? No one.
Correct.
0 people have asked me, hey, what'd you get on your GPA? It is really fascinating.
You know what I would tell TJ? TJ, your job, right, in school is to learn how to connect with people. Your job is literally to go out there, hang out, have a great time for the next 4 years, but make the best connections you can because these are all future leaders. And down the road, you're going to reach out to them and they're going to help you and you're going to help them.
Well, guess what? You're going to get that opportunity because I've said that to him, Dave, but I need somebody else to reinforce this.
I'm there, man. I'll talk to CJ. You kidding me? Absolutely.
I want to ask you about AI, as obviously it has radically jumped into our world. And I'll just start with ChatGPT. I know it started prior, but that would be the big one. That's like ChatGPT. That was like a couple months ago. Now we have ChatGPT 4. We have AI. What do you see, brother? What's happening out there? Obviously, digital marketing is your background and you know so much about that side of things, but has our world just overnight shifted? And what would you do to adopt, not be fearful, adapt? How would you go about this?
Let me ask you a question. Before Google, what did you do? We went to a
Oh,
library.
library. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So back in the 70s, right? If someone told you that everything in this building is going to be available on this small device, what would you say?
No way.
Okay. All right. Well, it happened, right? And now we're saying that we're going from an environment of I'm going to perform a search, right? Today, everything we get is a flat response to a search. After you do a search, you still have action that you need to go ahead and take. With AI, with ChatGPT, it does the work for you if you know about the proper prompts to give it, right? So there are sites like Promptly, right? Are you familiar with Promptly? It's pretty cool.
I'm actually not, brother. I
Yeah,
use
so
ChatGPT, but Promptly is a new one for me.
yeah, so Promptly is pretty cool. You see, if you're really good at telling ChatGPT what you want, right, then it will kick out the result. So, for example, the other day I was helping a friend out with writing a business email, and he was using ChatGPT, and he kicked over the result to me. I'm like, yeah, this is not good. He goes, why not? I said, watch. So I went in and I put in a prompt, and it was a better prompt than what he put in. So you got to tell it what you want, and it will create it for you. Now, if we were using Google, we would tell Google what we want, but then it would give us search results, and now we have to keep working. Does that make sense? So I personally think that we are going to go through a 10-year or more bull market as a result of what's going to end up happening with AI, not ChatGPT. Okay. ChatGPT is just one form of it, but it's all about AI. I mean, Elon Musk is now talking about coming out with his version of it, right? So Microsoft has their version, Google has their version, Elon Musk is talking about his version. Today, I was prior to this call, I was on a Zoom, and this is the coolest thing ever, but there's a product, I just wrote it down. It's called Meeting Geek or something like that, right? Or Meet Geek. And you attach it to your Zoom. And what it will do is it will capture the whole meeting, right? And it will summarize it for you along with action items by each individual that was on the call. Wow. And then it will email to you. And then it's up to you in terms of who you want to send it out to. That's the magic of AI. It's amazing.
Yeah, actually, now that we're halfway through the episode, I'm looking, and typically I have an AI attached to this for that very reason, right?
That's right.
Simplifying, instead of a human being going through and listening through the whole damn thing to pull out, hey,
that's right.
It said this, it happens like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going to help in the medical field. I mean, if you think about, people that go and they get an MRI, but then, you want the results to your MRI pretty quickly, and then you have to wait for a radiologist to read it. Well, guess what? AI is going to have the ability to do the job of about 100 radiologists, right? And it's just going to be a radiologist just making sure that everything was kosher, and then we're going to be sending out results. But it's amazing. I mean, Peter Diamandis talks a lot about it with Abundance 360. So there's a lot of coolness happening, and I think that we don't need people to be scared. I think that there's a lot of people right now that are very concerned. Am I going to lose my job? No, it's just going to enhance your job. It's going to enhance the world. I am all about technology. I love new technology.
It's interesting, and I wrote it down here, but you feel a 10-year bull market is coming. Although right now we're watching some crazy stuff happen in the banking space where people are maybe their portfolio wasn't exactly diverse enough. Maybe it was in some, futures that wasn't right. What do you think is happening there, brother? Because obviously it's hard to know what's real is the other part of this, right? Like, I'm not sure where you get your news from, but it's not just one source. It can't be, right? I'm not aware of one source that gives true factual information. The amount of agenda that's happening anymore, it's like, damn, how much do we have to Google to get more research to go to this to find real answer?
So what are you asking? You're asking about the economy? You're asking about, I'm trying to, I want to give you a good answer here.
Yeah. So the economy, what do you feel is really happening, brothers? We watch these bankings, those banks that are shutting down, and
they just made bad investments. They just got bullish in certain areas, made bad investments. And, unfortunately, they're the wrong people were watching, and unfortunately they went out. But I'm not concerned about the economy. I'm not concerned about what's going on right now. Recessions are healthy. Raising interest rates is healthy. You have to slow things down. Things can't be a party every year, and what goes up goes down. But at the end of the day, long term, everything will be fine. If you look at history, and you could look back at the last 50 years, you could look back at the last 75 years, we've gone through a lot of ups and downs. So the problem is that everyone gets caught up in watching news. Everyone gets caught up in reading news. And everyone gets caught up in looking at their phones and looking at the stock market day after day. It's a wrong thing to do. So it's a long-term game. All right. Think back when, the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden the markets just kind of like went nuts, right? Everything went down. Everyone was scared, fear, right? But then we just went through like another bull market, right? So I'm not a reactive person, right? And I think that we have too many people that are very reactive. Be active, have the right people around you as far as advisors. Don't worry about what the news says. Just make sure you got the right advisors around you, and you'll just be, you'll be fine.
Sounds like you go right back to having the again, your network. You're around people that are in the know in various places, and rather than making a rash, irrational decision,
Right.
saying, all right, is this really what's happening? It's a basic question, right? Is this true?
Right.
Crypto, brother, is that something that you've really dove into? Is this a space that you've dedicated X amount towards your portfolio?
Not at all. Not at all. I think there's zero fundamentals. I think that when we invest in things, we invest in companies, right? We invest in balance sheets. We invest in a solution that someone's created. Can you tell me what solution crypto's created?
Not yet. I've heard potential solutions, but none of which I've seen adopted.
Blockchain, yes. But crypto in general, there's no fundamentals behind it. If we're going to go out there and play with crypto, I think that you're playing with fire. Now, there's people that have done extremely well in crypto, and they might say, "Oh, okay, let me show you what I've done." That's fine, but it's when you jumped in. Did that person jump in at a time when crypto is at like unbelievable value, and all of a sudden it shot up to whatever it shot up to? Now it's still it's not terrible in terms of where it's sitting right now. But if I got in crypto at $5 and $10, yeah, I'd be going out there and saying crypto is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I don't invest in things that fundamentally don't make sense.
No, that does make sense. And the blockchain is fascinating. I think maybe that was a mistake that was made, how they were almost put together at the same time, or that they were attached to one another, where the blockchain technology makes a ton of sense, where it's a really amazing check and balance, right? It's getting back to that AI instead of it being a human being counter. Somebody's doing this all the time.
That's right.
What didn't I know enough to ask you, David? Because I could sit here and throw questions at you all day, but I'm curious what you're passionate about right now. Anything that you want to make sure to really leave the audience with, that you're like, JM, you should have known enough to ask this question. What did I miss, brother?
Let's see. What am I passionate about? JM, I'm just passionate about having fun. Seriously. I'm all about, enjoying the people I surround myself with, your wife. I love spending time with my wife, my kids. I feel that, people are in the world of consistently chasing, right? People are in the world of consistently comparing themselves to what they see in social media. And I think that sometimes we need to slow down, stop looking at all that social media and stop comparing, and, stop looking at all those, the videos that say, I'm going to give you the top 3 secrets, top 5 things that you need to know right now, or I'm going to tell you about this new challenge. And all of a sudden everyone's doing a challenge and everyone's talking about the 3 secrets that they learned. Just get back to what's important to you. Stop doing things that are important to others and then making it all about you because you just read about it or you just watched a video and you think you're missing out because you're not participating. And I think when people get away from that, they get into like who they really are, right? I think we're going to see a lot more happiness. I think that people are just driving themselves crazy because of everything that is around them. There's so much noise, and we just have to filter it down.
Yeah, one thing that you and I did talk about that I think I hope everybody hears, you're very, very intentional about your health, about physical activity, about watching, what you consume. And it's clear that you value your health as much as virtually anything out there. And I think the older we get, the more we lose people in our life, it does become, and that's why I have a tonal, is because of you, brother. I mean, I saw that amazing piece of equipment. I was like,
Yeah,
yep, I'm buying it. And I bought it literally that day I left your
I
house.
love that about you, buddy. I love that.
So what, has it always just been important to you, Dave? Or is it just as you're getting older, you're like, man, I want to be as fit at 50 as I was at 30? What's kind of the driving force for you?
I was a fat bastard growing up. Remember I said my dad owned 3 bakeries, right? So I was a pudgy kid, and I lost 60 pounds when I was a kid. And I swore that I would just never, ever get to that point again, because I felt so much pain being a heavy kid. And I made that decision like when I was, 12 years old, right? So, sometimes we have like a shift in our brains, and that shift happened early. And I just decided to walk a path of staying in shape and taking care of myself. That's it. I feel good. I love going to a beach at my age and taking my shirt off and, looking better than, a guy that's 10 or 20 years younger than me. You know what I mean? Feels good.
See, I learned something every podcast. I did not know you were a pudgy kid. And
Dude, I'll show you
I can
pictures.
honestly imagine it. That's funny.
I'll show you pictures, buddy. You'll laugh. Yeah.
I know you're not promoting anything. Obviously, I had asked you to be here because I think you bring so much value to this world. If people did want to connect with you, Dave, is there a place online? Is there somewhere where you would say, hey, this is a good spot to learn more about whatever, David's up to, or, any place for you?
People are welcome to send me an email if they like what they heard and they want to send me an email, they want to connect with me. Look, the one thing that I do since I walked away from being part of my previous business, the only thing I do today is I just advise companies. I sit on boards. That's it. There's a lot of amazing companies out there. There's a lot of amazing founders. What I do today is I just help remove the blocks, allow them to execute on their vision, and allow them to get to a place of, am I building a business today that is just a lifestyle business, or am I building a business that I want to exit from? That's really my core of what I do today. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I'll be more, if you want to, give out my email address on here, you're welcome to. If you want me to give it out, totally fine. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
I can put it in the show notes, or you guys, if you ever want to connect with somebody that I'm telling you, he has advised me in so many ways, whether you meant to or not. I just value who you are, Dave, and how you show up, and just, it's really unique when you get to meet somebody that constantly pursues giving value to others. And it's remarkable, brother. So I'm just so grateful to have you in my life, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate you.
Told you guys, happy, healthy, wealthy. I mean, this guy is absolutely just an amazing man, great neighbor, incredible businessman, and yet so humble. I like to bring people into your life that can share so much value as he did. And with that being said, please share this out. There's so many good nuggets in here that he talks about with collaboration, success leaves clues, what's the problem, all the various questions he asks. It's basic, but at the same time, it's so profound. So make sure you share it out. Until next time, you guys, remember, your mindset matters. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.